Hey everybody, it's me as always, your host Gambit896, and I'm back with another video for you guys. Today I'll be showing off part 2 of my graphic novel slash trade paperback collection. I've decided I'm going to split the future videos for this series into two parts. So this will be part 1 of 2 of my of the Marvel side of my collection, and then I'll stop the video and then I'll do part 2 of 2 and then upload them in due course. So, without further ado, let's get into it. First up, we have Doctor Strange: The Oath by Brian K. Vaughan and Marcos Martin. Absolutely fantastic story. Now, I haven't read a lot of Doctor Strange. In fact, my first exposure to Doctor Strange is another book, which I'll show off shortly. But if you're looking to get into Doctor Strange or characters within the Marvel Universe, or just be introduced to what a fantastic storyteller Brian K. Vaughan is, then I highly recommend you check out The Oath. If you want more in-depth thoughts on it, I've done a review already on my channel about this story, so if you want, like I said, if you want a more in-depth look at it, feel free to check out that review video. Next up, we have my first exposure to Doctor Strange in a comic book form, and that was Strange the Doctor is Out, written by Mark Waid and illustrated by Emma Rios. This was a 4-issue miniseries that basically chronicled after one of the events of one of Brian Michael Bendis' later arcs in his New Avengers run, pre the Marvel Now initiative. Stephen Strange was basically stripped of the mantle of Sorcerer Supreme, and so as a result of that, he had to find a new path to enlightenment. And then this led him to take on a new student to school her in the ways of magic. I don't know what the reception was for this, but I personally really enjoyed it. I'm a big fan of Mark Waid from his work on Daredevil. So I thought, I found it just in my local Forbidden Planet, actually, out of the corner of my eye. And I had a flick through it and I thought it looked interesting, and I really like Emma Rios' artwork as well, so I thought I'd give it a look, and I was pleasantly surprised and I really enjoyed it. Next up, we have Hawkeye, Volume 1, My Life as a Weapon. Like with Doctor Strange, I never read any Hawkeye. I've seen a couple of I've seen the entire season of, or the entire series of Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. I thought Clint was a really cool character and kind of a bravado Robin Hood-esque kind of character. But then, anyway, before that, I picked up the first volume of Hawkeye by Matt Fraction, David Aja, and Javier Polito. And this is basically the premise of this, or the general impression about this series is that it's basically the day in the life of an Avenger when he's not being an Avenger. So it's following Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye, on his days off. Does that mean he gets to, kick his feet up and have a few cold ones? No, he still has to deal with more street level stuff to do with his neighbours and all sorts of other stuff. Again, if you want more in-depth thoughts on it, I've already done a review of this first volume on my channel, and I am hoping to pick up volume 2 at some point, fairly soon. Next up, we have New Avengers Illuminati, which is written by Brian Michael Bendis and Brian Reed and illustrated by Jim Chung. I got this from the universal praise that this has been getting on YouTube from the various review videos that I've watched. And also it's Bendis, who I'm becoming quite the fan of, actually. I'm not, especially from his work on Ultimate Comics Spider-Man, All New X-Men, and some of the other stuff I've read of Bendis's in the past, like House of M and Siege, which were 2 Marvel Universe events. And I also got this because I want to pick up the Jonathan Hickman Avengers or New Avengers series, which is basically the team of the Illuminati. So this is the pre-Marvel Now team, which is collected in this 5-issue miniseries. So we have Black Bolt, Doctor Strange, Mr. Fantastic, Namor, Charles Xavier, and Iron Man. So I'm really looking forward to giving this a read and seeing if it holds up to all the good things I've heard about it thus far. Next up, we have the first 3 volumes of Josh Whedon and John Cassaday's Astonishing X-Men run. I know there is a volume 4, which is the Unstoppable story arc, which I am planning on picking up at some point, so I then have the entire run of Whedon and Cassaday on Astonishing X-Men. So we have volume 1, Gifted, which collects issues 1 through 6. I am planning on rereading and reviewing these on my channel at some point. But I have read the entire series before, and I have to say, apart from 1 or 2 sort of confusing plot points within the 3rd volume, which is the Torn story arc, this is pretty much a fantastic series by Joss Whedon and John Cassaday. Joss Whedon you'll know from his work on Buffy, Angel, Firefly, Serenity, and also the Avengers or Avengers Assemble, depending on where you are in the world. And here's the final volume that I have, which is volume 3, which is the Torn story arc, which collects issues 13 through 18. In keeping with the X-Men universe, we have the first 3 volumes of Jason Aaron's Wolverine and the X-Men. If you are subscribed to Pat's Camera Action, which is the host of Dan and Dale's Comic Book Show, which are 2 really cool guys, also from the UK, who review comics on a weekly basis, and they also do sort of vloggy type of videos where they talk about what they've been reading. And Dan is a huge fan of Wolverine and the X-Men, and he's been singing its praises every month that it comes out when they talk about it on the show. So that was the first volume. I do have a bit of a gripe to bring up about the Wolverine and the X-Men trades. Now, these 2 volumes, 1 and 2, collect 4 issues at a time. But the trouble is, or the funny thing is, that volumes 1 and 2, or issues 1 through 8, are actually one complete story arc, because you have the stories going on at the school with Brew and Kitty Pryde and all the fellow students, and you also have Logan and Kid Omega basically going to an intergalactic casino and trying to essentially cheat their way out of the money that they need to keep the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning up and running. So if they'd collected the 8 issues into one trade, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. But I got the first volume for free, and I thought, well, I might as well pick up the later subsequent volumes. So just try and get these right. That's volume 1, and there's volume 2. And then here's volume 3. I know volume 4 is out already, and I will be picking that up eventually and reading my way through the Wolverine and the X-Men trades and reviewing them in due course as well. Next up, we have everyone's favourite Hornhead, and that is Daredevil. Now this is Guardian Devil, which collects the full 8-issue series by Kevin Smith and Joe Quesada, which was basically the reboot of Daredevil back in the early 2000s. This is the 10th anniversary edition, which I got for £10 from Nostalgia and Comics in Birmingham, which anybody who lives in the Birmingham area or lives near the Bull Ring, which is the local shopping centre, I highly recommend you pick up or take a visit into Nostalgia and Comics, because the guys over there are really great people. They're so helpful and they're really, really friendly, especially Dave and Richard, who I pop in every now and again when I take trips up to Birmingham on kind of shopping days, if you will. So anyway, I picked this up for £10. I am planning on rereading it and reviewing it at some point, but initially when I read it, I really enjoyed it. A lot of people kind of dismiss Kevin Smith's writing because he does rely on a fair amount of dialogue and a fair amount of exposition. Not so much exposition, but he uses different sort of writing mediums like diary entries and letters and whatnot to move the plot forward in Guardian Devil. But I personally really liked Kevin Smith's writing on the Guardian Devil arc, but I can see how his writing style might not be for everybody. This is the first Ultimate Collection of the Brian Michael Bendis and Alex Maleev run on Daredevil. I know there's volumes 2 and 3, which collect the entire run of the run that these two did on the series, and there's also another 3 Ultimate Collections which collect the Ed Brubaker and Michael Lark run on the series, which takes place after Bendis' run ends. Now I am planning on reading Guardian Devil and the first Ultimate Collection of the Bendis and Maleev run, because I've kind of been in a Daredevil mood since getting into Mark Waid's run. And speaking of Mark Waid, Here we have Volume 1 of his run on Daredevil, which collects the first 6 issues. Now, if you're a fan of Daredevil, if you're a fan of Mark Waid, if you're a fan of Marvel, or if you've never read any Daredevil before, and you don't really want to go back and read the early stuff from the 2000s, like Guardian Devil, or if you want to basically jump onto Daredevil with this creative team that's been running for the past 2 years, with Mark Waid working with various different artists up until this point. Yeah, I definitely recommend Daredevil to both Mark Waid's run on Daredevil to both new and old readers alike, if you want to get back into or get into Daredevil. Here's Volume 2, which collects issues 7 through 10 and 10.1, plus Amazing Spider-Man issue 677, which is a great team-up story between Daredevil and Spider-Man. And there's some great, fantastic humor stuff, or humor moments from Spidey within that issue, especially towards the end when Daredevil hooks up with Black Cat, which Peter Parker or Spidey doesn't take too kindly to. Here's Volume 3, which again has a fantastic Paulo Rivera cover, like with Volume 2, Volumes 1 and 2 actually, with Doctor Doom and Daredevil on the cover. So in that third story arc, Daredevil inadvertently takes a trip to Latveria, which is Doctor Doom's country, if you will. And next up we have the polar opposite of Daredevil, which is Frank Castle, aka the Punisher. This is the Welcome Back Frank storyline, which was published by Marvel under their Marvel Knights initiative, or Marvel Knights banner, sorry, as with Guardian Devil. Now, this is my first exposure to anything to do with the Punisher, and it's the creative team of Preacher, which I've stated in many videos is my all-time favourite comic book series of all time, and that is Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon. I'm also planning on reading and reviewing this at a later date. I have read it once before, and it's absolutely fantastic. It is a more darker comedic take on the Punisher, but at the same time, it still stays true to the roots and the characterization of Frank Castle or the Punisher. If anybody has seen the 2004 Punisher film with Thomas Jane and John Travolta, some of the scenes in this comic are basically lifted straight from the pages and incorporated into the movie. So this 12-issue maxi series was a heavy inspiration for the 2004 Punisher film. Next up, we have the 3 volumes which collect the Greg Rucka run on the Punisher. This first volume collects the first 5 issues. Again, if anybody's interested, I've done reviews of volumes 1 and 2. 2 and 3, sorry, on my channel. This one basically deals with Frank Castle in a more human light and brings him back to basics as to who he is, and that is a soldier essentially waging a one-man war on crime. And we also have the introduction of Marine Sergeant Rachel Cole Alves, who becomes kind of Punisher's sort of partner, if you will, as the story unfolds. And there's also a 5-issue miniseries which Rucka did after the final issue, which is issue 16 of his run on the Punisher. I will be picking up the Warzone miniseries, as I've heard nothing but great things about it. But this is volume 3 of Greg Rucka's run. Next up, we have what is for me one of the best series that Marvel now are publishing, along with Uncanny Avengers, All New X-Men, and X-Men Legacy, and that is Thor, God of Thunder, by Jason Aaron and Nisad Ribic. The premise for this series and this story is basically Thor is trying to track down a serial killer who is killing all gods across all time and existence. Again, if you want more thoughts on if you want more of my thoughts on this first volume, I've already done a review of this first volume on my channel. But Jason Allen and Nisad Ribic are just doing an absolutely fantastic job, and I absolutely cannot wait for volume 2, which is the God Bomb story arc, to come out. Unfortunately, it's not until November, or October, November-ish time on Amazon, unfortunately. But I'm really looking forward to picking up the God Bomb story arc, as I've heard nothing but great things about it. Here we have Thor Volume 1 by J. Michael Zazinski. This series bears some particular significance to the character of Thor, because this ushers in the rebirth of Thor after being dead for a couple of years, but also ushers in the redesign of his costume, which we've seen in the first Thor film starring Chris Hemsworth in the title role. We've also seen it in Joss Whedon's Avengers or Avengers Assemble, depending on where you are in the world. And we're also going to see it again in the upcoming Thor 2 The Dark World film. Here we have Volume 2 of JMS's run. I have a pre-recorded video review of Volume 1 of JMS's run, so I'll be uploading that in due course. And I'll also be reading my way through JMS's run on Thor for the second or third time, as it's an absolutely fantastic series. So that was Volume 3. Next up we have Siege, which is the 2010 Marvel Universe event that's written by Brian Michael Bendis and illustrated by Olivier Coipel, who also worked with Bendis on The House of M, which was the 2008 X-Men spanning series event, which I really enjoyed, as with Siege as well. I know a lot of people did like it, I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I'm one of those people that's in the latter category, that I enjoyed it. And finally, for this first part, we have the first volume of Kieran Gillen's Journey into Mystery, which focuses on a young reincarnated kid Loki. I got this series, or got into it, based off of a conversation that I had with Dr. Monkeybot via private message on YouTube. Basically, I was saying to him that I want to pick up the Young Avengers series, which Kieran Gillen is also writing for the Marvel Now initiative. And he said that if you want to get a bit more to grips on the character of Kid Loki, then his Journey into Mystery series is well worth checking out. I believe there are 4 volumes in total, so I'll definitely be picking up volumes 2 through 4 when money permits. That about concludes this first part to my Marvel collection, guys. Thank you everybody as always for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. But as I always say, if you thumbs down the video, feel free to tell me why in the comment section below. If it's your first time viewing one of my videos and you'd like to see more, please feel free to subscribe. And until next time, it's Scambit896 signing off, and I'll see you back here shortly for part 2. Take care.